Welcome to the GCNTech show.
This week we're discussing if Tadej Pogačar could win the Tour de France on any bike.
The reason we're talking about that is because Colnago have just released a radical new aero bike. And in addition to that, in Hot Tech, we've got more World Tour group set news, updates on the Pidcock news, and some new carbon fibre cranks from FSA.
Oh, and hopefully we've sorted the sound issue in our new house. Let's do this.
Okay, right, this week we are discussing if Tadej Pogačar could win on any bike.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw it out there. No, I don't think he could just win on any bike, but I think there is a level to the type of bike that he could win on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I would go with that. I think in the past we did actually do a video a few years ago before he lost the Tour to Jonas, where he was a two-time winner. And I did a video on could he win on 105. And the conclusion was that perhaps he could, looking at winning margins, because we basically did some experiments with Feather, and we showed that the difference between a 105 equipped bike and a Dura Ace equipped bike would be about 30 seconds, we reckoned, on something like Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah.
And that's taking into account the slightly increased drivetrain friction of 105 and also the increased weight for a rider like Tadej. So that added up over all the climbs and every summit finish becomes quite significant for someone like him. So it almost brings down the winning margin to something, he won by over 6 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But it brings it down to the conceivable area where, yes, he could be losing. Or it would be very close.
Yeah.
And then there's also the psychological strain of knowing that you have lesser equipment than your rivals.
But I'm not thinking just group sets here. I'm thinking the whole bike. So if you were to look at the style type level of bike, where do you think you would put the bar as like the cutoff for anything lesser or lower than that level of equipment? Pogačar couldn't do it.
I think it is like switching down to like 105.
Shall I throw my thoughts out first and see where I'm thinking? So I'm thinking Pogačar could win on a mid-tier aluminium frame.
But still with your Ace.
No, I think 105 as well.
All right.
I think you're going to have carbon wheels still.
Right.
I think maybe not. You don't have to have like the most expensive.
You've got to have good tyres.
But you got to have carbon wheels. You got to have good tyres. I'm not skimping on the tyres at all here. And I'm going to allow for the like he can have his position and riding setup how he normally has it, and adequate gearing. And I think from that point, I think he could still do it.
I mean, that would be a big...
that would be a big ask.
That would be a big ask. I think when you factor in that, if you look at the winning margin of Pogačar versus Jonas last year, over the total time that it took them both to complete the race, it's still like 0.1% difference.
Yeah, so I think overall race duration was like 83 hours or something.
And it's not as simple as that because they're not always going flat out. But I just think it becomes a lot harder, not just because of the difference on the climbs, but because there is a slight energy cost. There's a slight energy penalty the whole time. Yeah. So aerodynamics is real, right? And if you're riding an aero bike, you're still saving a little bit of energy, even in the bunch, right? Versus just a round-tubed aluminium frame.
Yeah.
Having something slightly lighter, you're still saving a little bit of energy, all the time, but particularly whenever it's uphill, even if it's only slightly uphill. And what people don't realise is I think that adds up huge amounts over the course of an entire Grand Tour. And a great example would be when Carapaz lost the Giro d'Italia to Jai Hindley. I know at the time that Dan Bigham had worked out that Carapaz should have been, and he was trying to get him to use GP 5000 tubeless tyres.
Okay.
But he was insistent on using tubulars. And now everyone uses tubulars, and none of them are using tubulars because they know that it's slower. But Dan worked out that he'd basically, ridden in terms of the energy expenditure equivalent, it's only like a couple of watts. But over the course of an entire Grand Tour, that added up to Carapaz riding the equivalent of an additional 200-kilometre flat stage.
Which mad.
Over Jai Hindley, who was running tubeless. And so when he cracked up the Marmolada on that final climb, where he lost, not by a big amount, the Giro.
Yeah.
That's the kind of hidden cost that you don't necessarily think about.
Okay, you still haven't answered my question though. What level of
No,
bike?
I don't think he could. I think the difference between him and Jonas, because I said that the time difference is like 0.1%.
Okay.
I think it's too small.
Okay.
So I think it would be too great a risk. I think maybe if he switched down to he could definitely do it on Ultegra level components.
So you think I'm being a bit too naive? I think I'm bigging him up too much.
But I think I think the frame set makes there's too big a weight penalty there.
Well, anyway, the reason we're talking about this, right, is because Colnago have just released this crazy new aero bike.
Yeah.
And the whole the thing about this is it's even faster than the V4RS, the bike that Pogačar has been riding.
Yeah.
So the sort of question that I'm thinking is, should the rest of the peloton be concerned that arguably one of the fastest riders is now going to go even faster?
Yeah.
They should be worried.
I mean, looking at the white paper that Colnago released for this bike, I mean, the bike looks incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going to divide opinions because it doesn't look conventional, right? And clearly there's been technical challenges building and designing that bike because
huge,
and it's going to draw critics. You know it is because of the way in which that shape is not the optimum shape for load bearing around the seat post junction. People have criticised Trek's sort of last couple of Madon bikes for this reason, and you know, fairly so. But you'd imagine there's a good reason as to why they've done that. I don't believe that this shape would have been chosen purely for marketing purposes, as someone would, you know, cynics might say. I believe that there is an aerodynamic advantage that they believe there is, and that's the reason why they've done that.
Well, according to some of the stats, right, the latest Y1RS requires 20 watts less at 50 kilometres an hour than a V4RS.
Yeah,
that's significant.
I can believe it. But I can also believe that because the V4RS is like a sort of all-rounder bike, but it's not renowned as being a super aero bike, and we've seen that in you know, independent testing done by the likes of Tour Magazine. So that's consistent with what Tour Magazine would say.
Yeah, but so I want to say I'm in agreement with you. Potentially, the rest of the peloton and competitors should be concerned, but I think we should make sure we don't overlook the fact that other riders, other brands, other bikes, other companies are also going to be making leaps of progression and innovation, which could potentially negate saying that Pogačar is just going to be 5% faster. Or something.
And I think like, but there's a few things to sort of unpick there. The first thing is that they're, you know, while that difference is, they're saying 20 watts, that's at 50 kilometres an hour, which is typical Tadej speed. But as soon as you drop down to a climb like Alpe d'Huez, where the riders, even the fastest riders, are doing 20 kilometres an hour, that aero benefit drops down significantly, and you know, you're looking at like 2 or 3 watts more aerodynamic.
Plus the additional weight of the bike.
Plus the additional weight, which does sort of then, for someone like Tadej Pogačar, sort of, there's an interesting sort of balancing act where one cancels out the other. And so the aero bike might still be the faster choice on a lot of hilly stages for someone like Tadej. But although in their white paper, which was I was pretty impressed by, to be honest, they did say that it was 1 watt faster than the fastest competitor, which I was disappointed that they didn't name.
Yeah, that's frustrating, isn't it?
Yeah. But I mean, typically within the sort of Tour Magazine testing, the fastest out-and-out aero bikes that they've done, they've typically said the aeroed in the pro peloton is right up there.
Well, I was actually at Colnago.
So it might be that.
A few weeks ago. Don't know if I've mentioned it, if I visited there.
Yeah.
So I did see this bike before.
In your Ferrari?
Not my Ferrari. In a Ferrari.
It is his Ferrari.
It's definitely not my Ferrari.
He keeps it next to his Jura Ace crank collection.
So anyway, I saw this bike, and I got to say, it does look blooming cool. But the guys at Colnago were saying that this isn't like guaranteed going to be just the only bike that Pogačar will ride. They are assuming that he's still going to use the V4RS in certain situations. So I think it's going to be interesting to see not only how Pogačar chooses which bike he wants to use for different stages, but also how the rest of the team use this bike. Because it could mean that the rest of the team could get Pogačar to certain situations faster, and it's going to have more of an impact on other riders and other teams.
Right. If Pogačar wants to be the GOAT, which he definitely does, and some people say he already is, he wants to win Roubaix, he wants to win Milano-San Remo, and this bike would definitely help him. And you make a very good point that is going to help the team and Domestiques ride a faster race and get him into position.
Niels Pollitt, when he's riding the front at like 50k an hour for probably at least 50, 60 kilometers.
And he's gained 20 watts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And everyone else is like, oh, seems a bit quick today.
Yeah, gained 20 watts, which is huge. And this is the thing. It might only be 1 watt faster than the competition, but there's so many situations. We know this, you know, we go on about it all the time, where aero trumps weight. And so him gaining, and with the speeds that pro racers are now, with him, this isn't just him gaining 1 watt over the next fastest aero bike. This is Tadej Pogacar's just got 20 watts.
Yeah.
At 50k. That's blooming loads. I mean, that is, for him, that is this is a relatively low-hanging fruit.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay, right, let's like bring this right back down to reality and normality here. Forget about weight, stiffness, aero, anything. Imagine this is in the bike vault. Nice or super nice?
I'm going super nice.
I
know it's unconventional.
Nice, it's a nice from me.
Unconventional shape, but I'm going super nice.
Okay.
I mean, there are I think with those kind of sort of hinged steerer designs, it's less practical, but this is Pogacar represents the Formula One. He should be riding like the Formula One of bikes, you know?
Yeah.
Like it should be a performance race product. Yeah, that might... Yeah. And we always say this, don't we? That it's not necessarily the product that is best suitable for, you know...
Your weekend ride.
Yeah, the viewers or us going out on our Sunday rides. It's, you know, it doesn't have to be that, but for him...
Okay, so we've got a super nice and a nice. You can let us know in the comments section down below what you have to say about this bike. Right, it's now time for Hot Tech, and we'll kick it off with a few more details on the Y1RS.
Which is a perfect opportunity for the viewers at home to play new bike bingo. So, hit us with the stats.
It's faster, it's stiffer,
of course it is.
It's more aerodynamic, it's more efficient, it's got a reduced frontal area.
There's about 1,000 people at home who've all just shouted bingo.
Yeah, bingo.
Yeah, there you go.
But look, it's not all great in every sort of way, because understandably, like the trade-off with lots of aero bikes, it's heavier. So it's 242 grams heavier, although I'm not entirely sure what size bike that comparison has been made in. You're going to assume like a medium or something, aren't you?
Probably Pog size.
So you basically got loads of new stuff here, and according to Colnago, it's built to defy the wind, which makes a lot of sense. There's some other stats, 19% reduction in frontal area, clearance for 32mm tyres. You've already mentioned the fact that Colnago have published a white paper all about this. And I just think there's a lot going on with the bike. Integrated water bottles, cages,
cages. Yeah, the cages are specially shaped. Like something that we first sort of saw back in 2018 on the BMC time machine that came out then. And I'm surprised that that's not been quicker to catch on sort of with other brands copying that. I think it's a very, very sensible aerodynamic feature. And they made a big point of saying that they didn't go for the aero bottle that you see on the new Trek that came out last year, because weird shaped aero bottles are not practical. From a
functionality standpoint,
I'm totally
aero bottles, no.
If I was designing a bike, I would still want to accommodate the round bottle.
The traditional humble round water bottle. Right, anyway, quick fire prices for this top spec Colnago Y1RS. If you get it with Super Record and Bora Ultra Wheels, 16,500 euros. You got some Dura-Ace specs starting at 16,200 at Envy wheels. Shimano Dura-Ace and Dura-Ace wheels, 15,000. And then there's also SRAM Red Explorer with Vision Carbon 45 wheels, 12,300 euros. Frame set? Alone, do you want to know the price of that?
Yeah, it is.
6,710 euros.
I mean, it is pricey, but
yeah.
Again, it's not designed to be a mass market thing, is it? It's like the Formula One of bikes.
If the guy potentially is going to win the Tour de France in it, it's not for your everyday rider.
No, I think the other thing that definitely is going to contribute to the price of it is I saw that each frame, and this isn't me like trying to justify the price of bikes. I'm not on board like totally with that. I want cycling to be accessible, but I do still like the crazy top of the range things. The fact that each frame has its own individual fork. So a sort of cost-saving measure that you see on a lot of bikes is that they can actually accommodate the same fork, and then you simply just cut the top of the steerer to length. or at least they have fewer fork mouldings per frame size moulding. So say a 54, a 56 and 58 can all accommodate the same fork, whereas this frame, it did say in the thing that because it has that hinge design, again, it's another sort of potential disadvantage of that is you need a size-specific fork for every single frame.
Yeah.
Because the head tube is different with the hinge.
Okay, fair enough.
It's going to make it more expensive, basically.
Next up in hot tech, sticking with our theme, talk about the UAE teams. Both the male and female teams are now officially Shimano-sponsored teams, which I think is a big change because typically Shimano only officially sponsor very few teams, don't they?
Yeah, that's a big step. So I think a lot of people don't always realise that.
Yeah.
The teams that actually are like officially sponsored, but there's also tiers of sponsorship.
Yeah.
So the teams that are like the highest tier sponsored teams, notably, well, in the past it's been Ineos, FDJ, and although a lot of teams use Shimano, some of them are buying it.
Yeah.
And some of them have like a second tier level of sponsorship. So
it's almost like you can run down the checklist of are they using every single Shimano product that's out there or
this
not?
is the interesting thing.
Yeah.
So when the teams that have the highest tier of Shimano sponsorship, part of that is they have to use Shimano everything.
Yeah.
And so that's why if you look at like Ineos or FDJ, you'll see their chain rings are Shimano. You'll see
the wheels.
Like you see a lot of Shimano, and you don't see things like oversized pulley wheels or funky rotors. And that's stuff that Pogačar has traditionally had on his V4RS to trick it out and to make it lighter. You know?
It's going to be interesting.
All these carbon tie fancy bits.
I'm going to be interested to see if that stuff remains or if that goes.
Absolute black brake pads and stuff.
So the press release says for the next 4 years, the two powerhouses in professional cycling will unite and redefine what's possible on two wheels. And they say they're going to use Shimano's cutting-edge products, wireless group sets, providing the team with the most advanced shifting and braking experience.
I do think, though, going back to our talking point, Pogačar could definitely win without the carbon tie stuff, just on pure race. I don't think that's going to hold him back.
No, I don't think it's going to be the deciding factor on it.
There you go.
The Tom Pidcock stuff we need to talk about next.
Pidcock stuff.
So, unless you've been living under a rock for the last week or so, I think everyone's aware Tom Pidcock is moving to the Q36.5 team.
Yep.
Riding Scott bikes on the road. So, off-road, Pidcock is still going to be using Pinarello bikes.
Yeah,
which I think will potentially surprise a lot of people. Well, it surprised me.
Yeah, well, we got this news a couple of days ago.
Yeah.
We were doing, just before we did the GCN show.
Yeah.
And, it's, for those, this has been spoken about quite a bit now. A lot of people didn't realise this initially, but the owner of Q36.5 also bought Pinarello last year. And effectively owns it.
Yeah.
And so there's clearly a bigger plan at stake here. Pinarello as a brand has clearly invested a lot in Tom Pidcock to launch both cross and mountain bikes, which they haven't been making for a long time. So they don't want to lose that investment. And I think the grand plan is that once the Scott deal ends with Q36.5 at the end of 2025 on the road, I fully expect that team to switch onto Pinarello in line with the owner's self-interest.
Do you reckon that sentence you just said should be one that we go back to in at the time and see if you were right or wrong?
Well, things can always change, but I'll stand by it. I think it's sound logic. You can't.
Yeah. Well, it is sound logic. I can't argue with it, to be fair. Tom Pidcock actually said in a press release, working with Fausto and the team at Pinarello over the last 4 years has been a privilege and a really enjoyable experience, and is happy to stay working with them for everything off-road moving forwards.
Do you know what though? Scott do make blooming great bikes. The foil is highly regarded as being one of the most aero bikes out there. And also that new Addict that we had on the show.
Yeah, wow.
If I was Pidders, I'd be excited to ride that. Yeah,
I'm quite wowed by that bike. I like what it's putting out there. Super lightweight bike, super stiff. Yeah, I'm for stuff
UCI
like
illegal though.
UCI illegal. And then finally in hot tech, we've got some new cranks from FSA. These are the FSA SLK Light direct mount cranks, which are a carbon fibre crank, right? They're using hollow carbon fibre arms, cold forged CNC chain rings. The chain rings, in fact, I've got a stat here. Do you want to know the stat?
Yes.
Mega Torque chain rings from FSA. They say they're ensuring that the chain rings can handle up to 3,780 watts of power, which is scarily close to your maximal power, isn't it?
It is. I mean, it's touch and go, to be honest. I'm not... yeah. I don't know if I'd risk it.
Well, anyway, the cranks, I think, are looking pretty
If you go 1 watt more than that, what happens? Do they just, like, disintegrate?
I don't actually know.
It'd be good to find out, wouldn't it?
You can do a sprint and you find out.
Oh, I don't know.
We got 3,780 watts in the legs today?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I haven't got the cranks at hand, so you've lucky day.
It's a shame.
So, 30mm forged aluminium axle, direct mount chain rings, available in 165, 170, 172.5, and 175mm crank lengths. 650 grams weight of these.
There you go.
Pretty cool, actually. Also, just to wrap up hot tech, we should remind people we've got a Wahoo competition running. Do you want to run through some of the stats and details on this?
Well, yeah, so it's your chance to win a Wahoo Elemnt Ace head unit, and the competition runs to the 13th of December. If you want to be in with a chance of winning one, and it's completely free to enter, then there's a link in the description of this video. Click on that, take you to the giveaways page, fill in your details. Terms and conditions do apply, but don't, check them out. But yeah, it's the new Wahoo Elemnt Ace. Wahoo's top-of-the-range, new, big, fancy pants head unit. That has a bell integrated into the speaker when you press the screen when you're riding.
I think that's probably
my new favourite feature.
Probably not like the feature that they would put at the top of the list.
It's not like all it does. It does a lot of stuff,
yeah.
But that is my new favourite feature. Just I'm ringing my bell on the bike path, on my commute, all the time, in a sort of quite a passive-aggressive way. People, dog walkers, people with headphones on, they can't even hear it.
All right, anyway, before you go on more and more, last reminder as well, we've got our weekly Zwift rides still going. So if you want to get involved, Wednesday nights, 6:30 I think it is. So get involved. More hot tech next week.
Time now for comments of the week. The comments that you've been leaving underneath our videos over the last week. There were a lot of comments last week, Alex. Underneath the show, people complaining about the sound on the show last week in our new house.
Yes.
Here's one. Some Ash says, your new house needs some sound dampening. And there was about 1 million more all along those lines.
Yeah, we were aware of it.
We were very aware of this.
But I'm glad that everyone pointed out the flaws.
I mean, I'm baffled that those tin cans with a bit of string that we were talking into just sounded so bad. I thought they would have sounded great.
Look, we can't get it right straight away every time, can we?
And the new house was expensive, so we needed to... we just invariably cut costs, cut corners.
Anyway, hopefully this week is back to our normal standard. There's another comment from the show as well. Richard Maguire, 110. I would like to see affordable bikes that can last a lifetime. This is the way things work. I have a 74-year-old rally that still rides like new and is constantly repairable at home. That was not unusual in 1950. This approach to manufacturing lasted to around 1990. I'd like to see a return to this. Good riding bikes, fixable, modestly priced, and long-lasting. Yeah, there you go.
All on board with that.
Yeah,
I don't just want it with bikes though. I want it with everything. I want to buy a washing machine that lasts 500 years.
A lot of people actually said white goods were one of the things, like washing machines, dishwashers, freezers. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah.
Also, the weekend I made that video about creating the world's slowest bike. Do you want to read out some of the questions? The comments, sorry.
Yeah, Lee Ritchie says, I've been riding the world's slowest bike for years.
Quite a lot of people seem to say that.
Yeah, it's a good joke.
Yeah, I should have thought that.
Should have thought that one yourself,
Yeah. Michael Plant, Rich3375 says, if you wanted to make the world's slowest bike, you could have just put me on the bike. Mission accomplished.
I don't think Michael Plant, Rich, is the slowest person, though. I think there's a lot of people out there that could unless you are
Tadej
Pogačar, there's always someone faster, and I think there's always someone slower as well.
Yeah. All right. Trash to Treasure video was out of the weekend where you're about to start restoring this old retro bike.
Yeah.
Lots of people loved it.
Yeah.
And me included, actually. I thought it was great.
Well, this is that thing of like something that's been like these older bikes, they're just built to last. And I was so impressed, like taking it apart. And this is a bike that's clearly been taken care of. And like the bearings and stuff were great, and everything came off well. And when this goes out, I will actually be at Fat Creations with Ali and we're
working on
gonna paint
episode 2.
Yeah, painting it. So
go on, you read some of the comments out.
Well, user Shane Zelby says, it's so refreshing to see you guys go back to normal price bikes that people can actually afford. Thanks, great content. And Luke Cornwall Jones says, drink every time he says ultrasonic cleaner. Happy with his new toy. I was screaming Italian thread in my head when he started undoing the drive side too. Yeah, my bad. I just assumed it was going to be BSA.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people saying we don't have it here, but in the ultrasonic cleaner, what did I use? It was Silka's degreaser. I mean, with Silka, channel sponsor, but that stuff is really good because of the sort of pH of it. It's not going to just sort of corrode away at metals in the way that some things can. So yeah, that is what I used. It's not this. Although you could have used, the chain stripper would probably do a good job, but it was the degreaser.
With any luck, we can have a little montage of every time that you said ultrasonic cleaner in the video.
With any luck.
Come on.
We'll get it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Come out of the ultrasonic cleaner. Get that in the ultrasonic cleaner. In the ultrasonic cleaner. We'll get these in the ultrasonic cleaner as well. In the ultrasonic cleaner. We've got some bits out the ultrasonic cleaner.
Right, okay. It's now time for the Bike Vault, the part of the show where you can upload pictures of your bike and Ollie and I judge them to be either nice or super nice. If they're super nice, we ring the bell, and the bell is behind me. First one for this week, do you want to go? Yeah, it's from Russell Wells, and this is a really, really nice bike, right? It's a look, and it's rim brake, but the problem, it's just there's a little bit of jauntiness going on. It is in Biggie Smalls, but it's just the way that it's up against that beam. That's resting on the fork, and I think also the seat stay, that's just asking for scratches. They might not be big scratches, but they're still scratches. Yeah, I mean, you raise a valid point. I don't want to argue with you. You seem pretty set on it.
Yeah.
Nice then?
Nice.
It's just a nice. Next up is Burned Irby. They say they had a crash with no fault of their own. Well, they said it was an open car door, just like Remco Evenepoel. So their Super 6 Evo bought a replacement bike, and this is what they've got. I don't actually know what it is.
It's a Geos.
Oh, okay. I'm not familiar with it. Not a bike I'm familiar with.
I'm a big fan of that. I like it. I mean, it's not a shadow stand, is it?
It's the complete opposite of a shadow stand.
No.
A giant tree stump.
Yeah.
I like it though. Are the spokes silver or white, or is that just the effects that the camera is giving?
They are, I think they're like the Dyneema spokes.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think. But it's strange, isn't it? They almost look like they're like holographic spokes.
Yeah. Can we all share a little moment of appreciation for the banana holder?
Yes, I'm totally on board with that. I'm going super nice on that. Also, where is that background? It looks sort of like Germany. Like
you can tell just from that background.
Well, it reminds me of around Lake Constance. Like it's sort of there looking towards Switzerland. That's sort of where it looks like.
I mean, let us know if you know where it is. So super nice. Next up, who we got?
João Manuel with a Colnago C60 with Campagnolo on it. What do you make of that?
I like that.
And I can tell, right, that is Paris in the background.
The bike was turned into quite a geographical experience.
Well, the Eiffel Tower is the giveaway.
Yeah, that will do it. That will do it. I hadn't spotted
I think that might be up at Sacré-Cœur.
I was just going to say that.
I think that's where it is, where John Wick died.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
Exactly what I was thinking. Yeah. So what are you thinking about scratching the fork and seat stays on this bike then?
Oh, it's beautiful, isn't it? I love
it. Yeah, but it's lent up against them the same as the first one.
Yeah. Oh, God. Yeah, we've got to be consistent, haven't we?
We do have to be.
Need a shadow stand there.
Do need a shadow stand.
That bike deserves better. It deserves the best.
You can do better than that, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. That's nice.
But I think they put it on there because they wanted to get the Tour d'Eiffel.
Okay, right. Next, username just retro. Okay. With a felt B2, brackets stretched. There's a lot of information about this bike.
Ooh.
It's apparently felt B2 bargain. It says it's small for them, so replace the handlebars and stem for more ease. Brackets, don't do that. Okay, thanks for the advice.
Oh, okay.
I actually do quite like the look of some of these more retro.
I like the old B2. My mate Joe used to have one of these back in the day. Yeah. He used to race triathlons and do time trials on it.
Yeah, this does give me real triathlon vibes. This kind of bike and setup.
Yeah, it's good though. I rate it. I really like that.
Well, let's judge this properly here. Valves aligned. It's
good
in the correct
background.
gear, good background. Cranks are aligned.
You can see it. Yeah. It's good condition. It's super nice.
Super nice. Yeah.
Next.
Yeah. Right. Shall I explain the username? They've put yes to the username here.
Yeah.
So when you upload a bike into the bike vault, you have to answer the question that says, please let us know the name you would like to be credited with if you would like to be featured on one of our shows.
Yeah.
They've just said yes.
Maybe their name is Yes.
If it is, I'm really sorry for making a light-hearted joke about it. Anyway,
They might be from a foreign land, and that's a normal name from the country that they're from.
Yes. Right. John laughed. Thanks, John. Right, Cannondale Cat 13.
Yeah.
Bratmobile, apparently.
The Bratmobile.
Yes.
Okay.
I love the colour. The colour is doing it for me.
I'm into it.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
I'm surprised you're into it. I didn't think you would be.
No, I'm into it.
Okay.
That's I like the negative stem.
Yeah, that stem is slam dunked.
Yeah, I'm going super nice.
Yeah, super nice. Don't even question it.
Get Out and Ride 73 next. And they have... What is this? Where are we?
It's a Trek.
Ooh.
Yeah, I like it.
And it's won by.
Yeah.
Intriguing.
They say they love it.
Have they custom painted that?
I'm not sure. It looks like maybe a Trek Project 1 or something different about it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think potentially.
I mean, that's a very, very well-kept lawn and summer house and selection of shrubberies in the background as well.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
It's great. It could be their garage where they keep all their bikes.
Yeah. That's a quite a... I mean, a shadow stand would have been...
Sufficient?
I mean, because you do sort of got it in the grouting there, in between the brick and the slab.
Yeah, great.
For slotted in perfect.
Great for structural integrity.
That's a very substantial stand that it's in, but it's nice. I mean, that is a super nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I
love the simplicity and cleanliness of it.
Right, super nice. That was also our last bike for the bike world, which means this week's show is drawing to a close. Ollie, it's been an absolute blast. I think everyone should get involved in the comments section down below. Let us know, nice or super nice, on the latest Colnago bike, and your thoughts as well, if the rest of the pro peloton should be concerned by the Tadej Pogačar going even faster than before. We're out of here. See you, bye.
Love you, bye.